RPG Maker tip number 11. This is going to be a follow-up tip from tip number 9, which showed you how to change the self switch of an event from a different event. As you can see, we have a sword and a red button here. When we interact with the sword, it's going to turn self switch A on. When self switch A is on, the sword's going to be gone. In the event for the red button, it's going to check to see if the sword self switch is on. If it is, it's going to turn its own self switch on, which will change the button to pressed. In this event, we use a conditional branch to run this script call. Make sure when you create the conditional branch, you click the create else branch. The script call is the same as it was from tip number 9, map ID, event ID, self switch or checking. The first set of events after if are what you want to happen if the self switch is on. The else set of events is what you want to do when the switch is not on. In this example, if it's on, we want the button to be pressed. If it's not, we want the text to show sword is not pulled. Testing it out, we can see sword is not pulled. We pull the sword, that turns its self switch on. Now we go to the red button is pressed. Enjoy! RPG Maker tip number 12. Passive skills are a good way to add some horizontal progression to your RPG. I like to add passive skills to my games so that the player has some stuff to do that's not battling, which you see a lot of in turn-based RPGs. For example, I have a passive, well, I've got a couple of passive skills, but this here is called Keen Eye. And what Keen Eye does is allows you to see these little sparkles here. This is the game I'm currently working on, which you can find multiple dev diaries for on my YouTube channel that you can find in my profile. You can see there is no red sparkle here like there was when we were looking at the map editor. When you grab this green sparkly item here, it's going to give you some Keen Eye experience, and when you get enough experience, you're going to level up, allowing you to see more rare items in the overworld. For the sake of this example, we're going to pretend like we're 1 experience away from leveling up. Once again, no red sparkle here. We grab this item. It says Keen Eye level 0. That's a bug. Don't worry, I'll fix it. You see the little notification in the top left that says Keen Eye +1. Now, since that was 1 experience away, we can go over here and there's the red sparkle. We found 30,000 bits. Yay. I can show you all how to create notifications like you saw for Keen Eye and passive skills in other videos. I just wanted to show that this is something I like to add to games because it feels a little less monotonous. In a turn-based RPG, when your only form of progression is battling, that gets a little old after a while. It's nice to have other forms of progression. Enjoy. RPG Maker tip number 13. RPG Maker MZ comes with free launch DLC, which means if you buy the engine, you get this stuff for free. The DLC comes with some pretty useful stuff, including some great plugins and some full body pictures for the base actors. I'll be showing you how to add the plugins in another video, but in order to add the full body pictures, you want to go up to Resource Manager. Once you have your Resource Manager open, you want to click Pictures because that is the type of content that the full body actors are. Then hit the DLC button. If you have not bought any other DLC for the engine, the only one you're going to see here is Basic Resources. Double click that. You'll see 2 folders listed here. One says Pictures, one is Plugins. For now, let's go into Pictures. You'll see all the full body actor portraits in this folder. You want to just press Ctrl A and click Open. And now they're in your Pictures folder. Now these portraits could also function as enemies, especially if you're using a front view battle system. But I think these are mainly used for portraits when they're delivering dialogue. I'll be doing a separate tip video for Show Picture, but now that those full body portraits are within your game files, you can go to Show Picture and they'll be listed here for you to use. Enjoy. RPG Maker tip number 14. This is going to be a follow-up tip to tip number 13, where I showed you how to add your launch DLC resources. In this tip, I'm going to be showing you how to add your plugins. In your Steam library, right-click RPG Maker MZ, go to Manage, and Browse Local Files. Once you're in this folder, you're going to want to go into DLC, Basic Resources, and then Plugins. Press Ctrl A and Ctrl C to copy both of these folders. After you've copied those plugins, you're going to want to go into your game folder. If you don't know where that is, open RPG Maker MZ and open your project, click Game, and then Open Folder. This is going to open your project folder. After you've opened your project folder, go ahead and close out of RPG Maker MZ. To add your plugins, you're going to want to go to JS, go to Plugins, and then press Ctrl V to paste the 2 folders. Now that your plugins are in your project folder, you can click Plugins. You won't see any of this here. Just click an empty space, click this button here, and you can see all your plugins are here. In the next few tip videos, I'll be showing you how to utilize some of the best plugins that come with the launch DLC. Enjoy! RPG Maker tip Number 15. In the last tip video, I showed you how to add your launch DLC plugins to your project. In this video, I want to show off one of the menu plugins. First, click the puzzle icon in the hotbar here. This is your plugin manager. If you haven't added any plugins yet, this will be blank. Just double click an empty space. When this menu comes up, click name, go to launch, and double click Alt Menu Screen 2MZ. Make sure the status of this plugin is set to on. There's a lot of options here on the right that you can mess with later. Go ahead and just click OK for now. Now, when you playtest your game, your menu will go from looking like this, which is kind of just a vanilla standard layout, to this, which I think is much more visually appealing. You can see right in the middle here, right underneath the cursor, there's an arrow for more options, and when you go down, there's another row. That is an option that you can add in the plugin settings. Let's check those out. In the plugin settings, you can adjust things such as how many rows of commands there are and how many columns, whether you want to display character status. There's all kinds of stuff to look through in here to adjust for the menu. If you all would like a more detailed tip video on that, definitely let me know in the comments. If you go into any of these settings, unless you're an advanced user, don't go to text and enter in anything here. Always keep it on the first page and select one of the options here. That's to make sure that there are no weird crashes or anything with your game. If you do try to use the text, you could possibly have like a syntax error, which may cause your game to crash. If you're not proficient in coding or RPG Maker, you may not even know what caused the crash. So just to keep it on the safe side, keep it on the default page and use the default options. Enjoy! This is a follow-up to quick tip number 15, which showed you how to add this menu via plugins to your RPG Maker game. Unfortunately, there is a bug with this plugin. When you try to encounter a battle, this happens. I'm going to show you how to fix this. Open your game's project folder, go to JS, go to plugins, and then open Alt Menu Screen 2MZ. It may ask you what program to open it in. Feel free to open it with any text editor, Notepad, WordPad, or a code editor if you happen to have one. Myself, I use Visual Studio Code because I feel like it's the most user-friendly. I won't get too into the weeds here because my understanding of JavaScript is at a beginner level anyways, but this is trying to access a function that does not exist. This is a very simple fix. The reason that I didn't notice that this plugin causes an error is because I was using the older version. When RPG Maker recently got updated, it broke this plugin. In your code editor of choice, whether it be WordPad, Notepad+, or a Visual Studio Code like I'm using here, I need you to find this exact set of code. Most text or code editors have a search function that you can access with Control F. In order to find this particular line you need to change, type in adjust, which is adjust without the S. Yes, it is a typo, but it still functions correctly, and it will be the third option. What I want you to do is copy this entire thing, paste it right below, and instead of it saying sprite gauge, we're going to change it to sprite name. After you've changed it to sprite name, simply save it. You'll see that the menu still functions just fine, and now when you try to go into a battle, it works perfectly. Enjoy! RPG Maker tip number 16. This will be a quick viewer request on how to import tile sets. The first thing you need to do is go to your resource manager. Make sure you go into the tile sets category. Let's just say that we purchased a world tile set. You want to go into DLC. Inside of DLC, you'll see the names of any resource packs that you've bought through Steam for RPG Maker MZ. For the sake of example, we'll go to the remake map resource pack. Within this directory, somewhere in there, you should find a folder called tile sets, usually under the image folder. There's image and tile sets. And then you want to either choose all of them if you want to import all, or just the select few that you want. For the example here, we'll just import the world tile set. And now you can see they're at the bottom of the list. It does not end there though. Now we have to add the tile set into our database. So go ahead and click database and go down to the tile sets tab. The next thing you want to do, change maximum, increase this to whatever you want. Let's just say 10. Okay. And then now click in one of those empty tile set listings. Let's name this tile set world map. Each one of these categories is pretty self-explanatory. The only one that might be a bit confusing is animation. Animation is something like the tile set that has water on it, for instance, where the water actively moves while you're on that map. Some of the DLC will come with this already numbered for you. For instance, we're going into the A2 category and you see world A2. The next one is world B, so go B, and you'll see world B. Some may not be pre-sorted for you, so you may have to choose to the best of your ability which fits in each category. This is getting into something a little more advanced, but it's definitely necessary to do. You want to make sure you set passage and directional passage for each of the tile sets. The passage category tells the engine the passability of a tile. Circle being a tile that you can walk on, X being a tile that you can't walk on, and star being a tile that you can walk underneath, meaning the player sprite would go underneath that tile. Directional passage indicates which direction you can move when you're on top of a tile. For instance, our bridge here, you don't want to move up or down on this bridge because the bridge goes left or right. If you move up or down, you're going to fall off the bridge. So generally you want to turn that off, and you can do this for any of your tiles. There's a lot of other useful options here that can be used as well, such as setting ladder tiles. Terrain tags are incredibly useful, even bush tiles, but those will be for a separate tip video. Now when you go to make a new map or change an existing map, under the tile set option, you can choose the tile set that you just created. Hopefully this was enough to get you started with importing your tile sets and using them in your project. By the way, this particular project here was for a recent tutorial video that I did on my YouTube channel on how to make a switch puzzle in your RPG Maker game. You can find the link to my YouTube channel on my profile. Enjoy!